Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to change the landscape of podcasting as you know it in professional wrestling. This is the Game Changer Podcast. Featuring the greatest asset to come out of Canada, the legendary Mr. Fretz.
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. I love myself. There's something so condescending to the chap to get out of my ring. They think they got the answers. I change the questions. I did it all by my sweet little self. 2-time Slammy Award winner. I knew it. I'm a winner. I did it. Wow.
As well as featuring yours truly, the Game Changer, NateFNGreat.
I've had it. It's time for you to start listening to somebody else, and that somebody else is going to be me, and it's going to be right now. The dirty secret is you need this generation more than it needs you. You're not going to come out here and talk about how it should have been you, it should have been me, it should have been you, it should have been you, it should have been you, it should have been you 8 years ago, and it was kind of, then it wasn't, and it's not going to be again, and it's not going to happen. Just get over it. I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, even in commentary. Nobody can touch me.
We change the game one day at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're ready, let's do this. You know, honestly, I don't like to stroke my ego that much, but I am actually very proud of how that intro came out. So welcome to the new generation. Welcome to the Game Changer Podcast, a part of Wrestle Addict Radio. I am indeed NateFNGreat. And boom shakaloo, do we have so much to talk about this week. And I wouldn't be complete unless we had the Prime Minister of Canada, one of the greatest blessings to ever come to Twitter via Canada, the one and only fabulous, legendary Mr. Fretz.
You know it's that time again when you hear the can open, man. And now I am so tempted just to turn my TV and Xbox on over here and throw on some Avengers after hearing that intro. Well done.
Thank you very much. Guys, if you want to talk to us, the best way to interact with us is on the Twitter. For me, it's at Real Effin' Game. For Mr. Fretz, it's at the legendary JF. Like I said before, we got so much to talk about in the world of wrestling today. And guys, you definitely need to check out the other podcasts that are a part of Wrestle Addict Radio, that being the Kings of the Rings podcast, as well as the Young Lions Perspective. 2 great podcasts, 2 great shows, a bunch of great people. Well, a bunch of great people and Ricky and Will, but you didn't hear that from me. I'm just going to say this. They had a very interesting Kings of the Rings episode this past week, so I'm not even going to spoil it, you guys. Definitely go listen to it and let us know what you think of it. It's very interesting. So we're actually going to start off with a little bit of Impact, because they had quite the busy week this week. Honestly, do we start with the could have been good, but really came out really bad, or the fact that it was just bad all around? Let's start with kind of the good deal. I mean, it's a game-changing moment in wrestling where we have the first ever women become the Impact World Champion. Tessa Blanchard defeated Sami Callihan this past Sunday. Unfortunately, though, it did not come without controversy. Now, I'm not talking about the match itself. I'm talking about the stuff that happened before the match. Tessa Blanchard was, I believe, trying to just get some, positive reinforcement from other women on the social media deal, and the floodgates of hell just opened up because comment after comment after comment from people like Chelsea Green to Allison Kay to just so many people commented on this because all Tessa Blanchard wanted in her mind was just a little positive reinforcement from all the other women. But, yeah, that's kind of tough to do when you were accused and proven to be bullying, dropping a certain word that should not be said, spitting in the face of people who are cool. That's the way I kind of fluffing it up a bit. I should not be fluffing it up. She spat in somebody's face and called him an N-word. Yeah, it was. It's one of those situations where, I try to look at a professional standpoint, and the only thing I can say out of this is that I think they put the belt on her way too soon. And honestly, I think they should have went with my direction of holding off with the title until later on down the road, because now that this whole deal has just blown up, and now that kind of, a secret, this kind of past has been brought up, it definitely does kind of diminish the overall title victory, and also really just, it makes Impact look bad, all in all.
Totally. It couldn't have come at a worse time. All of this stuff. I mean, Tessa, she tweeted out simply, I'm not word for word here, but it's like, hey, wrestling would be a lot better if we women stuck together and stuck up for each other, that kind of deal. And then it was, I don't know who got the train rolling, but it just rolled right off the tracks. And this came out on the eve of one of the most historic, potentially one of the most historic matches in not only Impact history, but wrestling history as a whole. So I'm going to say it, Tessa Blanchard's a terrible person. I mean, everything that came out after that, all these stories that came out after the fact, that just this, and then Chelsea Green, and then Big Swole, and then I didn't get involved here. Like Twitter after this was its usual shitstorm self, but this shitstorm turned into an F5 shit tornado. And or what was it that? Did you watch Trailer Park Boys ever?
I've not, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh! Oh boy! I'll have to get you into that and Letterkenny. So, like that wrestling alliteration thing I showed you was from Letterkenny.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, Randy Leahy, the late, I can't think of his name, the actor. That's not important, but he always would say, Ricky, you're in the middle of the shit storm and it's going to turn into a shit tsunami. And there goes my swear count for the day. Says the guy who's going to try not to do it a lot so much. So it just spiraled out of control, and then everyone just started like beaking at each other. Like, I'll say it, yeah. If you say that word, I'll admit it. In my teenage years, I said it. I did not dare say it to an African Canadian's face, ever. I mean, I come from a small town that had 2 black families. Literally 2, maybe 3. I can't remember, but it's terrible. Like, and then a lot of people think like, oh, you're just jumping on it because now she's getting a big moment. No, it's like, well, why didn't you report it back then? I wonder why this kind of stuff doesn't get reported years ago. This also dates back to even things like Me Too. Why wasn't this brought up years ago? Which we're not. I'm not going to get into that. I mean, I think if you ever did it, it should be reported. That whole deal. I'm trying to tiptoe around this. Like, it's. I mean, the Kings of the Rings actually did a very, very good job of it. Especially Ricky being an African American himself. I mean, he put it bluntly and put it the best, and then they dissected it very well. And, like, now that win, I think, is kind of stained. Like, at Impact, they did not, they did not have a good week, especially after this. And just that the backlash is coming, if it hasn't And, the Kings brought this up as well. It's maybe now this is one of many reasons that WWE steered clear of Tessa. I mean, they had... Tessa Blanchard used to date Ricochet back in the day. And she had a very public, very loud, and I don't want to say dangerous, but very loud and public blow up on Ricochet, like at the PC.
Yeah, no, I do remember them mentioning that. It is kind of one of those things where I can definitely kind of relate these two incidences. It is kind of like what happened with Sexy Star, where she was in Lucha Underground. She was the first ever luchadora to win the Lucha Underground Championship. It was a great moment. It was something that would have been absolutely amazing. And unfortunately, the incident happened where she was going to probably get jumped during the matchup, and she decided to send a message because she didn't realize Rosemary was not a part of that, and wound up wrecking her shoulder. And it's one of those things where it's like, you have these great moments. You have these moments where you could have a historical deal, and it would always feel good. But in the last, last decade, we've had two of these incidences where, you have a great moment for, women empowerment, and for maybe a lot of the feminists, they probably would look at this and think, hey, this is a great moment for, women who are, strong and independent. This would be great. But the problem is, the two people that have won these titles have a really bit of a dark and shady backstory that does tarnish the title reigns that they have. So, yeah, it's going to be one of those situations where it's like, hopefully, Tessa has learned from these mistakes, and she's, I wouldn't necessarily say, move on from them. I think that if she's not apologized to any of these people, she definitely should, because this is obviously something that should, have been taken care of a long time ago. But unfortunately, the sad fact is that it's all in the past, and there's nothing we can really do about it, except, find a way to better it for the future. So hopefully, Impact, WWE, no matter where, they definitely do take a lot of this stuff, more seriously. And this should not be an issue, because we've seen what happens when people cyberbully, when they bully people. We've seen the outcomes of this, and honestly, a lot of the outcomes are sadly horrendous. So hopefully, they're getting, their asses into gear, and they're actually deciding, hey, let's actually do something about this. Hey, let's actually make a difference here. Let's actually find a way to stop this from happening. It's just, it's rough. And like I said, this is only like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Impact this week. But again, I'm just hoping that Impact, any wrestling promotion, they take this more seriously than what is happening now. And hopefully we don't have any more stories about this, because we had a lot of those situations happen even in the last decade. Because, with the Fabulous Moolah, with a lot of the other allegations that came out against other wrestlers, it was just one of those things where it's like, why aren't you mentioning this, now? I get it. Sometimes it's hard to do that because you feel afraid to, stick up for yourself, but never be afraid to be a voice. Never be afraid to speak up and to do the right thing. That is the one thing that we can take out of every situation. There is more harm done by saying nothing than saying anything at all.
That's right. And now I wonder now if this affects her chances of going to other places after Impact. Her dad's in AEW. That's, I think, the next logical step for her. But again, this absolutely tarnishes her reputation now. And, karma's a bitch. And I don't mean Karma the wrestler, but it's disappointing. Will brought this up quite eloquently, how we talked about how we put celebrities and we put the people that we watch on TV on this pedestal, and it's like, they're just like you and me. They come home from work and they crack open a beer and they go. If you know of the other potential allegation about Tessa, about that involves defecation. I have to bring it up. So there's this. It's an audio file only, and it sounds like it's straight out of a scat porno.
Okay.
And it's just of someone taking a dump, clearly a girl, because this girl's talking and saying things like, oh, you're dirty, you like listening to this, and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, are you watching me? I'm like, okay, this is cut from an audio movie. And I don't even want to know if that was her or not. Some people have that kink. No, not so much.
Nope.
But it's just everything just had horrible timing with Tessa, and she did you hear the promo she cut after, like, the TNA ended, like it was and new click over. Did you hear the promo she cut afterwards?
I did not, and I will get a chance to do that hopefully after the show's over. Yeah, I'm still just kind of wrapping my mind out of everything that's just going on with this, and now this whole deal. It's like, well, I mean, you know, at least it wasn't a situation like with Randy Orton where he defecated in, you know, a woman's bag per se. So
allegedly,
allegedly, fair enough. So I mean, it could have been worse, but at the same time, I can't see it getting worse than that right now. Just okay. Let's move on from this crap to another piece of crap. Well, actually, I don't know if I would really call this a piece of crap. So this is kind of interesting. A lot of reports have been going out, and this has been confirmed, especially by Twitch, that they have actually blocked Impact Wrestling, and it was because of one segment that featured the whole effing show. So, give you a little backstory as to what exactly happened here. So, the segment basically is Rob Van Dam. He's basically in this like hotel room or something like that. He's on a bed. He's basically talking about how, oh, you're just mad because you're not me. You're not the whole effing show. You're not Rob Van Dam. And during this entire ordeal, we see his wife, girlfriend, not sure exactly anymore who it is, Kitty. She comes in, and she's basically, you know, just doing what she does best. She's just showering RVD with all this love and affection and stuff like that. Then out came this other woman. Oh gosh, I'm trying. Oh, I think it was Jennifer was her name, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, basically another girl came. There's just a lot of these, you know, sexual implications and all of these points where we see parts of the human body getting blurred out for obvious reasons, even though in some states that's legal now. We just see that, yep, you heard me right. I will tell you off the air. So, you know what, I'll tell you right now, there's some states that have actually legalized women walking around topless. They really have. It is one of those things that is so bizarre, but at the same time, it's one of the things where it's like, well, I mean, if guys can walk around shirtless, why can't women at this point? I mean, I'm not going to sound like a pervert for it. I mean, I'm saying, hey, if they feel comfortable with their bodies, more power to them. Go for it.
I live on a beach, dude, so...
Fair enough. So, this whole thing happens, and honestly, comparing this to, like, the live sex celebration in 2006... some reason I found this to be so much more entertaining just because of how the women are just basically being like, Rob, stop talking about, you know, stop talking about wrestling and work. Give us attention. And there's so much like sexual innuendos put into this deal. It's like, what the absolute hell is going on? And like I said, it was so vastly entertaining. Yeah, they got blocked for that because the terms of Twitch forbid a lot of, you know, sexual innuendos and explicit content and stuff like that. So that is the main reason why they got blocked from it. As far as, you know, how the video itself is doing, I doubt it's getting, like, you know, millions upon millions of views. But I think it's still one of those things that I look at and I think to myself, this has to at least be, you know, one of their highest, you know, at least talked about segments that they've done, just because of the fact that it's so cheesy with all the random, you know, innuendos, and then there was whipped cream involved and all this kind of stuff. It's one of those things where it's like, wow, this is a legit thing. Yes, Yes.
Varsity Blues, man.
Let me just put this right here. Is that Hugh Hefner, God rest his soul, he would look at this and he would even just be like, he would be having his pipe and he would be like, yeah, I remember these days. It literally felt like something out of a Playboy cover deal. It just, it was so bizarre. But I think honestly though, I don't think Playboy would be as sexual as Impact Wrestling did. They are definitely going like an Attitude Era route of their entertainment. And honestly, hey, more power to them. That gives them a little more of an edge, I think. So basically, yeah, but Twitch has banned Impact because of this segment. For me, do they have a right to? Yeah, they do, because they obviously cannot have certain things. And I know Twitch can be very lenient to some things, but at the same time, they have to have a line where they cannot cross. And to me, would this be one of those things where they kind of cross the line? I think it does qualify. Do I hate the segment in its entirety? Honestly, no. I found it to be vastly entertaining for some reason. It's kind of one of those like cheesy romantic comedy deals. You just hear these women just talking the way they're talking, and Rob Van Dam, he's just literally being this boastful bastard. And it's like, okay, this has got so many good things going for it. I kind of dig it. I kind of like it. It's not one of those things where it's like, where it's like, oh, I'm getting turned on by it. No. I was more entertained by that than anything. It wasn't one of those things where I'm going in a creepy realm, but it was definitely one of those things where it's like, wow, for once, I actually agree. I would love to be Rob Van Dam in this moment. So, I'm guessing you've not seen this segment, Mr. Fretz?
No, but luckily for Impact, Twitch, first-time Twitch bans are usually kind of temporary.
Oh, okay.
No, literally the only thing I watched from Impact was the finish of the Tessa Blanchard-Sami Callihan match and her promo. That's it.
Okay. So, yeah, Impact, they got a bit of an interesting, deal going on. You actually mentioned before the show that they are actually bringing back the moniker of TNA for a one-night-only show?
Yeah, WrestleMania weekend, I think it's called TNA No Place Like Home, and they're going to use, they're using the TNA logo, but this is pre-Fox Sports Net, so this is the one they used from about 02 to 04, and Ethan Page tweeted something out about it like last summer, and as you said, it was something that was just in talks for the moment, but now it's happening, and I'm wondering how many former names that they'd be allowed to bring back. I mean, Kurt Angle's got a Legends contract, Christian has a Legends contract, Samoa Joe is currently feuding on Raw, AJ Styles is probably going to be in one of the main matches of WrestleMania. Christopher Daniels is in AEW, but AEW, potentially they've been going to bed with New Japan, and TNA, they have, no, I'm thinking of somebody else, because the contract that Marty Scurll just signed.
Yes.
He is like creative control and head booker in Ring of Honor, but he can basically go, he could end up on Power, and then the next week he can end up on Dynamite, so all power to him there. Yeah, so I'm thinking, who do they have? Who is left? Jeff Jarrett, maybe. I mean, he's a Legends contract too. Quite frankly, if he doesn't appear at this, or at least do a blurb about it, it would be extremely disappointing.
No, I definitely do agree with that, because you think of TNA, you gotta think of Jeff Jarrett. He was the guy who basically founded the company, him and his dad. I would be very surprised if WWE involvement is even put into this whole deal. There is chances, you could bring in people like, the Christopher Daniels or the Kazarian. Gosh, I'm trying to think of, like, who else they would even have. Maybe Diamonds in the Rough would be an interesting one. Team 3D could make an appearance. I mean, Bully Ray's doing his stuff, I believe, in ROH, but at the same time, he was kind of like one of the ones that kind of started off. They could bring in Paige and Monty Brown, there is a long list of people. The problem is, just finding those people and being able to create something that is absolutely memorable. But, I mean, we'll just have to kind of wait and see. Honestly, if they brought the beautiful people back into that, I would be all for it, because they are legit one of the greatest things in professional wrestling. I dare anybody to tell me otherwise. It'll just be interesting to see what that is. But we're going to take a little quick commercial break, and then when we come back, it's time for the Wednesday Night Wars, because we're talking about AEW and NXT. In all honesty, the ratings are already out, but I do believe that NXT and AEW are still in very stiff, head-to-head competition, and they're probably fairly evenly matched. But we'll discuss that more when we come back, you guys. So stay tuned. We will return. Hi, I'm NateFNGreat. You know what's really fun, you guys, is just spending some time creating wrestling moments, whether it's being in the crowd, cutting promos, or just really kind of beating each other up with a chair or a trash can. Well, let's just say that there's a safer way to doing that without using the actual chair or a trash can. Go over to Great Minds Revolution Incorporated. My buddy Kurt has actually created a very safe and fun way to be a wrestling fan without the necessary lawsuits of basically beating each other up with real stuff. He has an inflatable chair that is really fun to just whack around, and it could also double as a little floaty for a pool. He also has the inflatable trash can, which, you guys, is really awesome because let's say maybe you don't want to use it for wrestling matches. You could use it at your barbecue, your next big tailgate party, whatever you could think of. Great Minds Revolution, Inc. They do a great job on making wrestling fun again. Proud friends of the Game Changer podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is Will Tarashuk, T as in Thomas, ARASHUK, but you already knew that, because this is one of the hosts of the Kings of the Rings podcast. And guys, we are releasing new content every single Thursday on Wrestle Addict Radio. We cover it all from WWE to NXT to AEW and beyond. So join us every week, Kings of the Rings podcast. We'll love to have you, and you won't regret it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Coda Jacobs, the Crusader and visionary behind a brighter future in wrestling. If you're an honorable and noble public servant like myself, you are listening to the Game Changer podcast.
I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to Coda Jacobs, he's probably the most politically correct dude in all of Wisconsin wrestling right now, and I mean that in the best possible way. In all honesty, I will also say this, that he literally... I wanted to actually do this deal where I want to say that and say, here's the way I see it. You could either say that he's massive, like, the Republican mascot, or maybe he's a jackass like the Democratic one. I'm just saying, it's your choice. That's just the way I see it. And the first official base palm of this episode. But as Adam Pacini used to say, you love it.
You love it, 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 you love it. Were you there for that? He did 6 hours. He did a punishment after WrestleMania. It's 6 or 10 hours long. He had to say "you love it" literally a couple of thousand times. It's just
gosh.
You love it, you love it, you love it, you love it, and he's clicking so he gets his count. The whole stream, hours.
Oh my gosh, that is such commitment. Oh, speaking of Adam, did you see the picture that they posted up of Adam Pacini and baby boy Jack behind the Raw announce desk?
No, I do listen to the Cultaholic podcasts every week, all of them. So I'm going to have to keep my eyes peeled. And I would love to see Tom Campbell just have something there as well. So,
hey, it's probably going to happen. So, all right, guys, we are going to be talking about AEW and NXT. So, you know how it usually works. Both of us, we pick a show and we talk about it as briefly as possible, but we also do go through some of the finer things of that show. So, we'll start off with AEW. It was actually themed Bash at the Beach. It had some of the most amazing stage deals. I absolutely love the fact that they had these giant beach balls, they had the sand, they had the umbrellas, they had the coconuts, they had everything. They also had a lifeguard. Somebody get me that woman's number because I'm hoping she's single, but that's just me. we kicked off with a 4-way tag team matchup to determine the number 1 contenders for the SCU Tag Team Championships. Yes, I'm calling that because I can. We had the Young Bucks versus LAX, because I refuse to call them anything else besides that, versus the Best Friends versus Omega and Paige. Great way to start off the show. We had just a lot of great tag team interactions from the Bucks, from the Best Friends, from LAX, from Omega and Paige. Just absolutely great. Ortiz, I believe it was. No, it was Ortiz. It was Ortiz. He hit the Three Amigos, paying a little homage to Eddie Guerrero, and also considering the fact that it was Bash at the Beach. Yep, I was totally okay with that. There was a lot of cutter and stunner variations throughout this matchup. We saw Trent hitting his tornado DDT. We saw a lot of great stuff. A lot of dives to the outside. We see a superplex into the pile. One of the best moments of this entire matchup. I call it the quadplex. Anytime that they have like a 4 versus 4 suplex deal, that's just what I'm calling it from now on. A quadplex spot. But you add in Orange freaking Cassidy into this situation. He puts his hands in his pocket, he basically gets in, and he performs this quad suplex with his team members. It was amazing. We also got a little bit of tribute to Jerry Lynn with the cradle pile drivers. Ooh, that was beautiful. That was just great. For some reason, I actually lost my train of thought when it came to that. I was like, no, those aren't called package pile drivers. That's the Kevin Owens and the Pentagon deal. What the fuck were they called? What the F were they called? It's like yeah,
cradle pile driver. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I realized that. I think after the match was over, it's like, no, they're not called package pile drivers. What are they called? Cradle pile drivers. Oh, that's what they were called. During the end of the matchup, the Young Bucks did a lot of the brunt work, and Omega and Paige, they kind of steal the victory in that deal. So that was kind of an interesting deal. But we get Omega versus Paige with the tag team titles on the line against SCU next week. In honesty, kind of cool. And considering the fact that we had a nice little backstage deal where SCU, I do apologize, I'm having a little bit of a burp attack, jeez Louise, where SCU's talking, Hangman Page, he's all drunk, he's got his drink in his hand. What the absolute hell? Okay, I'm okay with this. Just again, somebody play the Full House theme and him just looking at the camera. It's awesome. I'm
gonna do it.
It's amazing. It is still one of the greatest things I've ever seen. They have that deal, but Kenny Omega, he shows respect to SCU, saying, hey, it's fine. I'm predicting we see a Page heel turn come next week, and I think it needs to happen. Then out comes my boy Cody Rhodes. I'm sorry, just Cody, but I will still call him Cody Rhodes because I refuse to call him anything else besides that. Absolutely a great promo where he basically goes over everything that MJF wanted for stipulations. He talks about the cage match deal. He talks about the 10 lashes he's going to have to take. He talks about the no touching MJF until Revolution stipulation, to which he agrees to all the terms. And again, another great promo done by Cody Rhodes where he basically talks about how he's just basically going to be a chapter in Cody Rhodes' book, to which I'm thinking, oh gosh, I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be an awesome feud. Also, the freaking Fantasy Island the look that he had, although some people said that it was GTA Vice City, which I totally get that because he did.
Yes. So good.
But yeah, no, that was just absolutely fantastic. We had the Nightmare Collective versus Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander. In all honesty, pretty good. Okay, it was a decent matchup. It was. I said that the best moments of this was when Statlander got to Brandy, because that was just great. And in all honesty, for them to still have that kind of reaction, that's what they need. They need to have Brandy as literally the worst things that people could have for that. And, yep, she does great. It was great. Statlander pinned Mel, which gave Shida and Statlander the victory, so spot on them for that. We get this interesting backstage deal with the Dark Order, where they're picking up, every single person of the Elite. And it seems like they're going to be feuding with the Elite, which in all honesty, I'm okay with this, because at least we're giving the Elite something to do other than just capturing all the gold. In all honesty, maybe Dark Order is going to be the one that gets all the gold before Elite does. You just never know when it comes to this. Somebody actually made a comment that said that there may be a different master behind Dark Order, that maybe that wasn't, that wasn't Uno who was the mastermind behind it. He's just kind of like a spokesman for it. Maybe there's somebody else behind that. I will say this. If they get Dario Cueto for this, I will call this a massive success. I know it's not going to be the case, but they need to get the guy who played Dario Cueto to be like the one behind Dark Order. I would be all for that. And then they bring back, what was his name? Matanza. Oh my God, yes. Bring in Matanza, bring in Mil Muertes. I'm okay with this. Bringing them into Dark Order. I'm totally for this. That's just fantasy booking by me. We get Sammy Guevara versus Jon Moxley. Sammy Guevara, of course, doing his cue cards deal, which is so freaking amazing. I was I'm totally all for that. Really good matchup between these guys, and we see Jon Moxley hitting the original version of the Dirty Deeds, the headlock driver. Oh, Sammy, did he sell that like a MFer. That was great. And Moxley picked up the victory with a submission, which was kind of out of nowhere. I was not expecting that to happen. Then out comes Jericho in the inner circle. They beat down on Moxley. And then Jericho decides, you know what? I'm going to be a bit of a dick. Gets a spike from his jacket, and he stabs Moxley, supposedly in the eye, and I'm hoping that's not the case. But it was just one of those moments where I was like, okay. And I also love how JR had a moment where he where he basically is just selling his entirety. He's like, where the frick are the refs? Where are the refs? Where are the refs? Where are the officials? Oh, there they are, finally. It's like, you know what, JR? You have some moments. You definitely have some moments where it's like, yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. That is one of those things where we're just kind of like, where are these referees? We get to a 6-man tag team match. DDP, QT Marshall, and Dustin Reynolds taking on the Butcher and the Blade, as well as MJF. My God, freaking JR with the line of the night saying that MJF is the boil of the ass that is this world. Which, oh my God, that made me die. That made me fall out of my chair laughing because that was great. This was a fantastic 6-man here. Butcher and the Blade looked great. QT Marshall looked absolutely fantastic. Then when you got DDP coming in, oh, thank heavens was this amazing. Just seeing him at the age that he's at, he's almost like, maybe he's getting close to like 50, 60. Oh my gosh. His first 64. He's 64. First matchup on TNT in 20 years, and he's still doing great. His diamond cutters were really good. I would have made him Wrestler of the Year had he hit the diamond cutter at MJF and pinned him, but he got halfway there. So he's like halfway. He's halfway to that point. I'm hoping we get DDP versus MJF where DDP does pin him. Then he will be my favorite Wrestler of the Year. But yeah, we get some really great dives on the outside, but MJF steals the victory by pinning QT Marshall with a handful of tights. Butcher and the Blade and MJF win. After that, we get Pac versus Darby Allin, and I will also say this to you guys, that the winner of this matchup will face Jon Moxley, and the winner of that match will be the number 1 contender for the AEW Heavyweight Championship. Great matchup between Pac and Darby Allin. Just, I loved it. I absolutely loved everything that they did here. They had some really great back and forth deals. Darby Allin, he looked like he was in a car wreck. His arm was just all pink and battered. It just looked absolutely insane. But Pac would win with the Black Arrow. He's going to be facing off against Jon Moxley next week, and I think they're calling it like Bash at the Beach 2, per se. They have announced the cage match between Cody and Wardlow will be taking place in Georgia in just a few weeks. And I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be absolutely amazing. And the fact that it's going to be the first ever steel cage match in AEW makes it even that much more special. Oh, AEW just It was a really great show. Everything that they did was just fantastic. Also, side note, MJF with the freaking shirt where he talks about sleeping with DDP's daughter. I was really like, oh, DDP, please kill him. Just please kill him. I want to see this happen so badly. But, you know, he got a diamond cutter. I was okay with it. I was perfectly okay with that. It's like, you know what? Live to fight another day. Next time we'll see DDP kill him. But yeah, AEW was just absolutely fantastic. Did you have any, additional thoughts, notes, anything like that?
So we had a lifeguard, and I immediately thought of darkness. Yeah, made me think of friggin' Baywatch there, especially with the babe in the chair. I'm like, okay, Pamela Anderson's like 60 at this point in time, so probably not.
No.
I like that Mox came out at the end of this match. He came out looking a bit like Solid Snake, so I was just picturing that screen, no Snake. And when I knew what was happening. I watched Dynamite this morning, actually, and I knew what was coming, but I thought Jericho would have done the Judas effect to spike Moxley in the eye. I thought that would have looked really, really good. Sammy Guevara is becoming one of my favorites, especially with his cue cards thing, and I held up the sign to you there, and it says, "Hey, Vanessa Hudgens, I heard you're single now." And then you hit me up to the friggin' interviewer backstage. It was so good. I do not like anything about the Nightmare Collective. It's just not for me.
Shockingly, very few people do.
No, the Dark Order is... I am so intrigued now, and I'm just intrigued about how they're going to do this. And it's, who's the mastermind, and who's this, and if we don't do this, if we don't do that, I will be so disappointed.
Oh, gosh.
But no, I really, if it's who's the mastermind? Who's the mastermind behind the Dark Order? Is it Officer Bob Beatty, the 1989 Denver Broncos? Cotman's mom? Fantasy booking mind here. Imagine if it was actually Matt Hardy. I would lose my mind. Let's see. I didn't have a lot else wrote down here. I just basically sped watched it. When it comes to Dynamite, I always watch NXT live. It's just what I do. Dynamite, I sometimes watch the show on stream, or I'll watch one of those recap packages that get taken down within 2 days. This one was the whole show, so it was just over 90 minutes. And yeah, I like it. QT Marshall is something else in the ring. MJF is still my absolute favorite in the company. The balls on this guy wearing a shirt to this guy's dad, I banged your daughter. That takes some balls. And there's a fine line between balls and stupidity, and MJF is just walking that tightrope. And I really liked Cody in his promo. He was talking about, you're nothing but, what was the word he used? He brought up when MJF was on the Rosie O'Donnell show. Yes, that was a thing. Maxwell and friggin' JR kept calling him Matthew. Come on, man. The blue's starting to get to your brain, Jim.
I was going to say, I think wasn't it Kayla or something like that said stop call him Maxwell, stop calling him Matthew. I don't need my husband's name associated with evil or something like that.
Oh my goodness! Shout out to Kayla. That was awesome. He says that you're listening, but like your mom were like stage parents. You were very privileged, this and that. You were pageant mom. That's it. That's the word he used.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, you have a pageant mom, and they hoided you around all these things. You were on the Rosie O'Donnell show when you were 7 years old, and he even I watched that, and it's like he was a smarmy little prick back then, and he was saying that he was going to be a wrestler when he grew up. So, and the whole thing is like I could see he's probably in his 20s by now.
Yeah,
I could see that personality when he was that age. I mean, when I was 7 years old, I was awkward and lonely, and now I'm almost 36, and I'm still awkward and lonely.
I was gonna say if you changed it up to like awkward and horny, that would have been funny.
Well,
yes, things change with time. It's like a fine wine or milk, whatever.
I have aged about as good as milk. That's why you're talking to a 36-year-old virgin. Yes, I admitted it.
Oh man, I still love you, dude. So, yeah, that was AEW that got a garnishing 975,000, I believe, this week. Almost $1 million. It's getting closer and closer to that $1 million. They just keep really putting that up, even with the Nightmare Collective. Stuff that they did. I think if they did not have the Nightmare Collective deal, they probably would have gotten to $1 million, but that's just me. Meanwhile, on the other side of the pastures, the greener side of the pastures, possibly, Mr. Fretz, what went down in NXT?
Well, I'm first going to give a shout out to Izzy. I think she was at this show, and she put out something on her Instagram, and it was about this little girl who went up to her and was like, oh my gosh, I love you, I watch your videos, and this and that. And she was standing right next to them, and it's like, she's like, yeah, that teared me up because like 5 years ago, that was me. And, that was the same, and that little girl was the same little Izzy that was getting, shouted at by Sasha Banks, and then, running to her dad, Cody. Shout out to all them. And she's like, hey, she's chasing the dream just like I am, and thumbs up, go get it, Izzy. We're all cheering for you here. So, we start off with a Keith Lee interview, and he's saying that, I'm going to end the Undisputed Era. I'm going to take their momentum away by defeating Roderick Strong for the North American title. And then Adam Cole's just like, no, shut up. Come, you're coming out. Excuse me. Yeah, there's the beer. Man, it's rubbing off on me now, too. Damn it. Yeah, Will's not the only person who drinks on stream. Yeah, he was doing that with his Millers, except I have... Oh, damn it, I grabbed a Heineken. This has been in my fridge since my brother's wedding. He had a trough. Okay, shout out to him. It was just open bar, and literally it was like a table, and then there was this, it looked like a feeding trough, but it was really like a Tuppermade container. It was full of beer, and I still have cans of Heineken from his wedding in that fridge. I regifted some of it to my coworker as a joke for Christmas. It was funny. So we have Keith Lee. He gets jumped by the Undisputed Era. Tommaso Ciampa makes the save, but however, it was at this point in time. Keith Lee got the classic Bret Hart chair wrapped in the leg injury. So they did that to him, and Keith Lee gets helped out by Ciampa, and then we have the Dusty Classic with South Wales Subculture, the former NXT UK Tag Team Champions of Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, going up against Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle, the Broserweights. And I'm going to say this right now. Pete Dunne is turning heel.
Really?
I think it's going to happen. Like when Pete Dunne started in UK, like when he was in the finals of the inaugural UK Championship tournament against Tyler Bate, he was a massive heel. I mean, I think he also he jumped someone during the tournament, and then he got in William Regal's face, in which I wish Regal could still go, because that match, I mean, if you saw his, Regal had matches with John Moxley in FCW, and they were
thumbs up good.
They were thumbs up, taking a sip of beer good.
Damn.
Oh heck yeah! Despite the fact it's Heineken, I should have bought one of my craft beers. Damn it. Yeah, that's one thing, folks. You know about me is every time I'm opening a beer on stream, it's either a craft beer or I have a can of sparkling water right here too for later. So this was just an absolute stiff British style match, especially with a guy like Matt Riddle, who's a former MMA. You mix that in with it, and it was really, really good. Just high spot after high spot. There was a whole bunch of shenanigans on the outside of the ring. Bleacher Report doesn't break it down move by move. I don't usually break stuff down, but there was a whole lot of Final Flash knee strikes. There was a Flash Morgan Webster eating up a lot of abuse. I mean, this guy is like the road dog who takes all the heat and makes the hot tag to Billy Gunn, or in this case, it's Mark Andrews. Finally, after all these near falls, I thought South Wales was going to win this match, but we had a shooting star press that ended up into the knees of, I think, Riddle, and then Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle hit a really nice tag team tandem move, which was a bitter end right into a Final Flash. Ooh. Just devastating. So Dunne and Riddle advance in the classic baby, and I think they would be facing Imperium, maybe? So this was just an absolute barn burner of a match. Andrews and Webster didn't get that much of a reaction like the NXT audience over here. They're not very familiar with them yet, but
they are now.
They are now, and they were loving them. I mean, everyone was all about Riddle and Dunne, though. They even had matching-ish attires. It was kind of cute. And it was after the match, Pete Dunne is very straight face, straight laced, no nonsense. And Matt Riddle is, of course, dancing to his theme, like, wah, wah, wah. He's dancing, and he's trying to get one out of he's trying to get one out of his buddy. I think he had a fist bump, but that was about it. Like Pete Dunne didn't do the spinneroonie, unfortunately. We have Tommaso Ciampa came out and called out the Undisputed Era for trying to hurt Keith Lee, promising he'd hurt Adam Cole and take his Goldie back. I want my life back. Like that, Tommaso Ciampa. It's unfortunate that he's going to be a big heel soon. I think it's happening, especially because of what we have here. So, of course, numbers advantage by the Undisputed Era. And who would come out to make the save? None other. No.
Sasha.
Yeah. Wrong.
John Cena?
No, it wasn't a woman. It was none other than Johnny Wrestling.
Oh, damn it. I was close. George Washington.
Yeah. Okay. So, Johnny Wrestling came out and made the save. Chance of DIY. So, they make the save, but however, Kyle O'Reilly is still he's prone, kind of knelt in the center of the ring. So what do we see? We see Gargano and Ciampa go to each corner. Boom. DIY kick. Just taking me back to 2016 against the Revival. I should have been there, but I'll never forget NXT Toronto when they won the titles in that 2 out of 3 falls match.
That was beautiful. That was an amazing match. That was an amazing NXT.
I think slacking Danny, and I wouldn't be surprised if Nikki was there because Danny was there. I know some other friends who were there. Tyler, my buddy Tyler was there from high school. Who we've recently started reconnecting and talking about wrestling. Shout out Tyler, I'm going to send this to you.
Hey, yo.
So it was also announced that later in the, I'll say this, later in the show, because this has just kind of been all over Twitter, because Trent Seven just started to run his mouth.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
So at Worlds Collide, Mustache Mountain threw out the gauntlet to challenge DIY. And then they're like, hey, Mustache Mountain threw out a challenge. What do you think? One more for old time's sake? Yeah, one more for old time's sake. Here we go. Man, everyone kind of complained when they're like, oh, there's not a TakeOver Rumble weekend? What's Worlds Collide? For one thing, Worlds Collide WrestleMania weekend last year friggin' ruled, because we got Dominik Dijakovic versus Luke Harper. Watch that match. And we're also getting Finn Balor versus Ilya Dragunov. Take my pants off right now. I am wearing shorts, so I'm close. We're getting Undisputed Era versus Imperium, but we're getting that in the finals of the Dusty Classic anyways. That's what the bracket is appearing to be. My lord, that match is going to rule. We'll have Toni Storm versus Rhea Ripley again. But there's something else, but my goodness, yeah. Speaking of which, Finn Balor did have an interview, and he was just running his mouth about Dragunov. Next, we have the grizzled young veterans, Zach Gibson and James Drake, going up against the time splitters of Alex Shelley and Kushida, former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, who once came to the ring at Wrestle Kingdom in a DeLorean.
Oh my gosh, I remember the chat for this, and oh boy. As an American, I feel like this is like watching a car crash. You want to keep going, but at the same time, you want to see what's going on here. So, Fretz, continue. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Okay, well, this I thought was a really great match. Kushida and Alex Shelley were working great as a team. I didn't see any ring rust on Alex Shelley. He was looking very good. Good as he ever has. Back in the days when they used to do something called the Super 8 tournament. It's kind of like the indie version of the Best of the Super Juniors. But it was in a random indie promotion in the Northeast. Yeah, Shelley, they did all their classic shtick, all their classic tag team moves. We have Gibson and Drake wearing them down, and eventually pulling off the upset and hitting the Ticket to Mayhem, which is basically, it looks like a different version of the Shatter Machine, but James Drake and Zach Gibson, in my mind, upsetting this team, and they started getting all the heat. They got the if you hate Zach Gibson, shoes off chant in the stands. Some of the Brits over there were trying to get that going, but they don't have near as good heat as they do in the UK. I was very disappointed, but I like the grizzled young veterans as well. So after the loss, the Time Splitters offered to shake their hands, and the vets were like, nah, it's like, we're the future. We're going to win, the Dusty Classic. So we have, pardon me again, so we have, there's this person here saying that, Shelley seemed a little slow, but he was able to reach full speed by the end of the match. It was very shocking to see them win. Kushida is still on the wrong side of momentum. He just can't get it going. I think this team, I don't know if Shelley's actually signed a legit NXT contract. This might have been a one-off like James Storm back in the day.
Right.
By the way, I think we're going to see James Storm back in NXT this year. I would love if Shelley, beer money. We got to see some beer money. I want to see beer money. There we go. But I think this is not the last we've seen of Alex Shelley. NXT needs a tag team division. I mean, there's not a lot of competition for the Undisputed Era, and think a team like that would be great to finally unseat Fish and O'Reilly as tag team champions. Actually, I'll go out on a limb and say that that is what's going to happen either at Portland or at Tampa. So now we have a triple threat match.
Oh, dude, before you go too far, I had this fantasy booking I want to run by you. So
Go.
the idea of Beer Money coming back would be amazing. Here's how I think would be the perfect setup. Of course, Rude could be doing this, but he's got a little bit of a ball and chain situation in the form of Dolph Ziggler. So, bring him down to NXT. Maybe they take on the Undisputed Era. Maybe they do something like that, or maybe just one random team from NXT UK. They lose. Dolph Ziggler, he's pissed. He decides to beat up Bobby Roode because, well, I'm pissed off because we're losing. I blame you. So, goes after freaking Bobby Roode. From the crowd, out comes the cowboy, James Storm. He sets up in the corner. Dolph Ziggler, he's beating down Roode. He just yelling at him. Turns around, last call super kick. Grabs a mic. Says, "Well, Dolphy, sorry about your damn luck." Just throws the microphone down. We just see James Storm helping up Bobby Roode. They just look at each other. The fans know what the fuck's going on. Next thing you know, beer, money, and they just hit the DWI on Dolph Ziggler just because. And Dolph Ziggler retires after that. Okay, maybe that was a little too much, but at the same time, I would just love to see that. Just Dolph Ziggler getting super kicked by another guy who does a super kick, but when he does a super kick, it's awesome. And we just see another DWI deal. Hey, Beer Money's in NXT. And Mauro Ranallo and Nigel McGuinness can go absolutely batshit crazy. And Beth Phoenix can almost lose her voice from screaming so loud.
That would be awesome. So good. I never got the chance to enjoy a lot of Beer Money's run. When it came to TNA, my Bobby Roode was Team Canada. And then that time he was trying to look for a manager. And he had everyone in his limo, like Bobby Heenan and Jim Cornette and Tracy Brooks and all these people. That was my Bobby. And now we have a triple threat match. And this winner will qualify for a fatal four-way for the Cruiserweight Championship at Worlds Collide. The other two matches are... there's Ligero versus... who's the Jordan Devlin, and the other qualifying match is the Brian Kendrick versus I forget, but they're both going to be on the UK taping next week.
Oh, nice.
And the winners of those will face Angel Garza and this winner. So we had Leo Rush, Tyler Breeze, and Isaiah Swerve Scott, and this match was so good that even Angel Garza was applauding from the announce table. It was only Morrow and Beth calling this week. McGuinness, I think he's having a little bit of time off in the UK, and also taping a few episodes of the NXT UK brand. And I just read here we had Cassius Ohno went up against Dave Mastiff, so that'll be something to watch later. Yes, please. And a side note, Cassius Ohno, I love that he's calling himself the wrestling genius and the best British wrestler alive. He's a bloody Yank, mate. So we have Tyler Breeze is going back to his old, oh my god, it's Tyler theme, because, Fandango is unfortunately injured. He had Tommy John surgery on his elbow, so it's been a bad run for him. I think it's the same elbow he injured before, so...
Yeah.
But with Tommy John surgery, it's like, that's what ends Major League pitchers' careers. So Angel Garza giving his commentary and talking in Spanish here and there and being his suave self. No, he didn't do anything with his pants this time, unfortunately. He left them on. Save that for the thing. That's going to drive me nuts. Who's going to be wrestling Brian Kent. I'll come back to it. So we have Leo Rush started to get a bit of an advantage. Tyler Breeze hit the beauty shot, spinning wheel kick a la Owen Hart. Rest in peace. He tried to go for a unprettier. I love that he's using the kill switch, but he's bringing back the unprettier name. Well, him and Christian are buds. You know, Tyler Breeze is from Canada too. He's from BC, so him and Christian are mates. So he's using that. Rush hit the frog splash on Prince Pretty, but Swerve Scott came out and hit the JML driver, which kind of looks like it almost looks a little bit like the angel's wings, but without the guy on your shoulder.
Oh, okay.
So he hit a really nice driver for the win. So Swerve Scott is going to be in a match. I think we'll have Angel Garza, Jordan Devlin, Swerve, and fill in the blank. I'm trying to think of who else is in the UK who could be in that. So that was a great match. Just your classic 205 live action. We had the main event. I don't have every participant here. Maybe if you can look that up for me, Nate.
All right.
If you can, every participant in this match. So we have the number one contendership for the NXT Women's title at Portland. So I saw a few here. So we had Casey Catanzaro, the debuting Mercedes Martinez, the debuting Shotzi Blackheart, Dakota Kai, Bianca Belair. Who was the other one? Who did Dakota Kai turn her back on?
Tegan Knox?
Thank you. Tegan Knox was there. I said Casey Catanzaro. Io Shirai. I'm pretty sure Chelsea Green was there. And who's the other? Xia Li might have been there. And then a surprise entrant in Shayna Baszler, making her return to the NXT arena. However, I think this is just something to keep her occupied until the Royal Rumble. So EST and Io, it was down to Tegan Knox fought in an impressive return. Tegan Knox fought Baszler. The EST and Io Shirai, Dakota Kai got involved to eliminate Knox. Shotzi Blackheart in a surprise moment. Return. She wasn't officially eliminated. She was outside of the ring. And she came in and eliminated Shayna Baszler before Bianca Belair got to her. Then it was down to Io Shirai and Bianca Belair. And then, it was a great final stretch. There was a couple of near falls and near suplexes to the outside, near eliminations. But unfortunately, it was Bianca Belair. Phil, I'm sorry. Not a fan. I'm not a fan of your girl. But it's going to be a good match. Belair can go. She is extremely talented. I'll give her that. I just do not like her gimmick at all. Thank God she doesn't use that stupid hair whipping crap anymore. I don't see too much of that, but what have I said before? She's got to put like a cat of nine tails on that. Do like a hardcore match, and she'll add like the spike bits or the cat of nine tails stuff. So, yeah, Bianca Belair won this match. This was a very, very entertaining battle royal. All these ladies got all their stuff in, got all their moves in. They looked really, really good, and seeing Shayna shocked me big time. We were in the group chat, and I'm like, I was picking. I think I picked Io Shirai, and then as soon as he saw Shayna Baszler, Wade is like, oh no, I'm gonna change my pick, man.
we're getting Ripley versus Baszler one more time because we can, which would have been awesome. Well, I mean, you never know. They might have the rematch on an NXT show, but you just never know. But honestly, it sounds like a very fantastic show. And with it getting, I think it was like 675,000. Hey, still was absolutely great. Also, I will say this, that one moment that I did get a chance to watch from that NXT show was that, deal where Gargano and Ciampa, they're talking, they're saying, yeah, DIY one more time. Then we just hear people go like, no, Lee, don't do it. We see like Undisputed Era. Here comes Keith Lee, who kills the security guy through a bush. And then he just keeps going. They're just like, no, Keith Lee. It's like, no, Keith Lee, don't do it. Grabs another guy, throws him into a car, another guy into a sound deal. He's just killing everybody. And of course, Keith Lee is just literally just yelling at him. It's like, I'll see you next week. I'm going for you, Rowdy. Just literally like, oh my God. Keith Lee better be winning this belt. He better be winning this belt, because if not only are you going to piss off Keith Lee, but I think you're going to piss off even more people. Just put the damn belt on him. And again, let's just hope that we just see the Undisputed Era just stay in NXT. Just maybe... Actually, I wouldn't see them breaking up. I would not see them breaking up. I would see them continue to keep going. Maybe build up Rowdy as the next champ. Who knows at this point? Who knows? We'll figure something out. Anyway, so we're going to take one final break, you guys, and then when we come back, a little bit of some game-changing aspects of the show, and we are going to be talking, for the first time in quite a while, about Monday Night Raw. What are we going to be talking about from that? Well, you'll just have to wait and see. So stay tuned, guys. We will be right back.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is King Ricky Rose, your co-general manager of Wrestle Addict Radio and your host of Kings of the Rings podcast. And if you enjoy what you listen to each and every week here on Wrestle Addict Radio, we invite you to enjoy even more content from us on our exclusive Patreon page, where for just $5 a month, that's right, $5 a month, you get bonus content and commentary from each and every show here on Wrestle Addict Radio. That means bonus content from the Kings of the Rings podcast, from Not Your Mama's Soap Opera, from 4-4 WrestleCast, from the Get the podcast, and from the Game Changer WrestleCast. So for $5 a month, go to patreon.com/Wrestle Addict Radio, sign up. You get exclusive content, exclusive access to us pretty much 24/7, and exclusive shows that can only be found and are exclusive to Patreon. So again, folks, patreon.com/Wrestle Addict Radio, $5 a month, all the content that you could ever want in wrestling. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, it's the Princess of Pro Wrestling, SoCal Val. You are listening to the Game Changer podcast. Sending lots of love from California. Mwah.
Am I insane? Because I'm going to be doing another show with her in about a month. Some people might say yes, other people would say no, but yeah, for those of you that are curious, Val and I will be doing a bit of a Valentine's Day themed episode next month, so tune into that. And also, if you haven't gotten a chance, check out her YouTube page where she talks about skincare, mainly talking about the face, which honestly, I watched it and I'm a guy. I was thinking, okay, this is actually really good to know. This is good stuff, so the kind of deal. Just, certain products that will definitely help keep your face nice and clean, will definitely help, just make it look absolutely radiant and beautiful. It's going to be absolutely fun. So definitely check that out. Check out SoCal Val at SoCal Valerie. Show next month. That's going to be great. So, let's talk a bit about Raw. And I think we need to get this one out of the way. Just because the fact of the matter is, it was one of the greatest segments of all time. That being R-Truth confronting Brock Lesnar about the freaking Royal Rumble. Or was he? So, R-Truth talks about, being his, the 24/7, 7-Eleven European I-95 champion, the long list that I'm not going to be able to recap. He literally talks about having a beef with Paul Heyman. He says he's going to throw him over the top rope. And Paul is just like, moron? I'm not in the match. You're not? No. What are you, stupid? R-Truth, of course. My bad. I he finds out that Brock's in the Rumble. He's like, I hereby unannounce myself in the Royal Rumble match. just seeing that and just seeing Brock Lesnar literally just cracking. It's one of those few times where it's like, okay, I may give Brock Lesnar a lot of crap for, his lack of wrestling and the fact that he's not around that much, but there are certain moments where he has just shined as an absolute star. I mean, him bringing the Suplex City bitch into WWE was great. Him talking to Heath Slater saying, I don't give a shit about your kids. The freaking boombox deal, oh my gosh, that was awesome. My favorite video that somebody made was just of him dancing to Backstreet Boys Everybody. It's my favorite. It's just amazing. But yeah, R-Truth tries to get away. Brock decides, nope, wee, F5. And he just says, that's what's up. And that was it. And so many people were like, oh, dude, we could have gotten Brock 2 belts. And I was literally thinking, I hate every single one of you for even suggesting that idea. Even though that would bring prestige to the 24/7 championship, because nobody would challenge it if it was Brock Lesnar.
Nope. He would, and Brock was laughing. I mean, R-Truth broke him this whole time. Brock was just sitting there laughing the whole time. He was like, I-95 South champion. I'm like, oh, I think I've been on that highway, by the way. Wait, where was Raw this week?
It's like Kentucky, I think.
Okay, I didn't go through Kentucky, but I did go through like Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico.
Yeah,
I went on one of those. I actually been on old Route 66, so that was neat. Got my kicks and a really good taco in New Mexico, of all places. Yeah, that was really, really funny. R-Truth. He's like, I want to be like my childhood hero, John Cena. You're 5 years older than John. So, how are... And you were already in and out of the WWE when John Cena signed, bud.
True.
I remember Ty Dillinger, Sean Spears, they were doing a thing backstage, and he interrupts Sean, and then he goes to the interviewer. Is he okay?
I remember that, actually. I do remember that.
Like, is he okay? Spears is just so, like, he's less concerned about, it was his return or something. And it's like, no, this guy's not, he's not okay upstairs. And I remember when, it was almost, this year will be 20 years ago that R-Truth, or K-Quick, debuted with WWE, but then went away for like 10 years.
I mean, he became a 2-time world champion in a place that actually respected him as a wrestler. Oh, I'm sorry, did that slip out? That was supposed to be a thought bubble. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think he was the first African-American NWA champion. What about Ron Simmons? Ron Simmons held the WCW title, Big Gold, which I can see right over there in my other room. Another thing I want to bring up about Monday Night Raw, before I get into the Messiah here, if this is the right thing, I'm just trying to get like a joke video here going. So Oh, that's someone with the PlayStation logo. I was going to bring up Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. So there was a bit on Raw. It was Kevin Owens. It was the fist fight, aka a last man standing match. So it was Kevin Owens, The Big Show, and
Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, right?
Samoa Joe, thank you. Going up against what I've called the Apostles of Pain, of the AOP and the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins. Oh, I'll get there. So we all agree that the Monday Night Raw Titantron stage setup kind of looks like a ramp from Tony Hawk.
Yes.
So I'm going to start going through my Twitter here, and I'm going to find it. And it was, Kevin Owens decided to use the ramp as his own personal half-pipe and do a senton, or as we tried to make it a kickflip.
The Kevin Owens kickflip.
the KO kickflip. And oh my goodness, that Twitter is not being so friendly. I'll find it. I'll find it.
All right.
Yeah. So we have. Yeah. He did this whole awesome thing where he did the senton off of the ramp, and because the ramp, it looks like the whole thing. Oh, Kevin Owens is Sonic. Okay, so here's Jesse Davin putting this up. Okay, that was good. Way to go, Jesse. Shout out to Jesse Davin, by the way. She's a spectacular person. So, yeah, I'm not going to find it. Folks, go on Twitter or go on Facebook, wrestling shit posting pages. You'll find it. I was hoping to get in some Goldfinger. It was an excuse to start playing Goldfinger Superman again. And then during this match, well, actually, it was well before this, there was an enhancement match. No, there was a match, between Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black, which was an absolute classic. Those two are like the modern day, like Benoit and Jericho, when it comes to having classic matches all the time, no matter what. Well, actually, this match, there was a black mass, and then there was a 3 count. However, I think there was kind of a ref botch. It was like 1, 2, shoulder. No, the shoulder wasn't up. So something happened, and then another black mass while Buddy Murphy was knelt down, kind of like how Tajiri used to do the buzzsaw kick back in the day. And that was it. So Buddy Murphy was. We didn't see him until a little bit later, but he kind of hung around ringside and was just like leaning up against the guardrail, kind of all disheveled and like unbelievable, blah blah blah. So it was just like Charlie Caruso was coming up to him, was like, "Hey, buddy, can we get a word?" No, not now, Charlie. But this was as Eric Rowan was making his way to the ring to go up against an enhancement talent. Now, one of two things that I thought was going to happen here. He was going to interfere in this match, or he was going to be the person who would find out for us what is in that stupid cage. So, this time, that cage has since grossed out Mojo Rawley. It has since spat red mist into an opponent's eyes. And this time, Rowan reached his hand in there, and he came out with a laceration on his hand, in which he would then grab the jobber and do the Iron Claw chokeslam with the bloody hand. Okay, then. Now I want to find out. I mean, it's like GTV. It's like who pied Kevin Owens? Who's the anonymous Raw general manager? Not you, Swoggle. Shout out to Swoggle. No, that was no way disparaging him. I like that guy. Where was I going with this?
You wanted to find out about the thing in the box.
Okay, so Corey Graves. I was listening to whatever his podcast is called, and he's like, "Oh, with the whole red mist thing, he thought it was Baby Muda, which would blow Baby Yoda out of the water." It's like, no, give me Baby Muda. And I'm thinking, like, okay, that was I thought, dude, Tajiri, or Tajiri Muda. Who else does the mist? Someone in AEW does the mist. No, Asuka. Like, maybe it's Baby Asuka, or something like that. I want to know now, even if it's something absolutely insanely stupid, which I think it's going to end up being. I want to know. But then, Buddy, he's still there. I don't think him and Rowan interacted that much, or like Rowan kind of was like, "Hey, look at this," or blah blah blah. And then as the main event started, the 6-man fist fight. he's still there. He's still sitting there. So, Mr. Monday Night Messiah, have you seen his new T-shirt, by the way?
I have not. I heard the description on Kings of the Rings, and I don't know if I want to see it, because this was kind of something where, I will say this, when I say an interesting episode, when they get into talking about the Monday Night Messiah deal, it goes off the rails there, so just be prepared, especially for those of you that are highly religious, to have a little bit of culture shock, we'll call it. And no, not the Corey Graves culture shock.
No, I'm a Christian too, man. But it's like, but you swear, dude. I know plenty of Christians who swear. I've heard it from the pulpit. It's not about what you say; it's about what you do. But I'm like, okay, it is literally a Jesus stained glass painting with Seth Rollins saying "Monday Night Messiah" in like Gothic font. And Will, who I found out does not like the Catholic Church. Good thing I'm a Protestant. It was, and then going off about this thing. Hey, I want this shirt. I'm gonna wear it to a mass. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was kind of funny. So we're getting a deal here where Seth Rollins is getting his ass kicked, and then Buddy is still there. He's just. He's lost. He's disheveled. He's hopeless. He's looking for answers. He's Seth Rollins' mission field. So he's like, Buddy, we need help. And Buddy's just still kind of sitting there in shock. So Big Show's about to go for like a choke slam or a punch or something. But in comes Buddy Murphy with the low blow. And then with the big knee. And somebody eats a stomp or something, and they win. And then, Buddy Murphy, they hug. So now we have Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah. Now he has an apostle. Now he has followers. He has his heavies. So you got Jesus, starting his ministry, going out and finding John the Baptist, and then Peter, and then John, not the Baptist, and then Matthew, everyone. So now, I actually tweeted Ricky this earlier. I haven't gotten a reply, but I'm like, okay. Ricky said, him and I were talking about this, tweeting during Raw, and we're like, he's like, when does this end? When is Easter? Easter is literally the week after WrestleMania. So what if they actually play out the passion story, the Passion of the Christ? And despite myself being Christian, if WWE were to go there, I'm curious. I'd watch it. I'm not saying I like it. I stopped watching WWE for a month after that whole Vince McMahon wrestles God thing. I literally quit for a month. I stopped because it was, at the time I was a new Christian. I was very strict, legalistic, if you will. Only one in my house going to church. Kind of pressured from my friends to think certain ways back then, not so much anymore. And Joey Styles, he mocks God. I'd be curious to see how they do this, but because WWE is like a publicly traded company, and they don't have a good history, a good track record with doing religious gimmicks. Mordecai. Who else was when Goldust had the midlife crisis after his divorce with Terry Runnels and did the whole "he is coming back" thing. The preacher. Let's see. Now Muhammad Hassan wasn't a religiously charged gimmick. That was more of a culturally charged one. But I'm trying to think of any other there's not a lot of preachy gimmicks in the WWE. The point is.
Sorry.
I'm going on. Classic Fretz going off on a tangent. The point is passion storyline. Where do they go with Seth Rollins Jesus? Some suggest straight edge Punk. Hey, this could write in Punk versus Seth. Somehow, I don't know, but I want to see it. I want to see where this goes.
Well, now I can kind of throw my 2 cents into this. So, they played it out on the King's Rings podcast. They kind of put like everything that happened there, and everything that I kept hearing, I just was not. I could not bear it. I honestly couldn't. It's one of those things where I don't talk about my religion as much, but this is one of those few times where it was like this would be too much for me. If WWE had the balls to try and pull this off somehow, and try to do that whole deal, verbatim, like every single one of these events and blah blah blah, that kind of deal, that might be the final straw for me where I say, okay, you want to play hardball with that? You want to talk about one of the greatest stories of all time and basically kind of make a mockery of it? Okay, fine. No more subscription. No more network. No more WWE YouTube. Totally blocking everything that's like WWE related, except for some of the people that, well, actually I might be unfollowing a lot of people from WWE, to be honest, because there's a lot of people there that I actually thought to myself, wait a minute, do I even interact with any of these people? No, that's right, very few interact with me, because I have my own set of friends who interact with me, and they're awesome. One has blue hair, one has red hair, one of them is a demon. What more do I really need other than that? I'm just saying. So that's kind of where I'm coming from when it comes to that. Was there anything else that you wanted to noteworthy that you wanted to talk about as far as Raw goes, or was that the?
No, that was it.
Okay. Well, I guess we can kind of. Well, before we go into anything else, we made the joke earlier. We might as well bring it up. During the Lashley matchup, whatever Lashley Rusev, whatever they're trying to do with that. There are a lot of people that were questioning Lana's wardrobe, and the fact that Fretz and I were on the same wavelength when it came to this just made for some awesome content that happened off the microphone, where literally the first thing that came to mind was, "Give me my colored coat, my amazing colored coat." Yeah, Donny Osmond called. He wants his coat back. Just
Son of Joseph, you're doing fine. You and your dream coat ahead of your time. Ahead of my time, ahead of your time. Yeah, and I told you that unlocked a memory I forgot I had. My elementary school, a public school, not a Christian one, because this is the story of Joseph in the Old Testament, we did this play when I was in like grade 6. Fortunately, I was just in the choir, because everyone in my class basically had to participate. Oh, Lord.
Oh, man, that's amazing. Yeah, I mentioned that I did a couple productions of Joseph. I did like a lot of the chorus stuff in the first time around. I was also Jacob for the first time around. It was a pretty good deal. The second time around, I was actually playing the role of Reuben, so I got to do the "There's one more angel in heaven," that deal. And I think for that one, that was a fun, more. It was probably just as enjoyable, if not more enjoyable, because I didn't have that much stress or worry when it came to that. I was still kind of part of the chorus, but at the same time, I got to enjoy a wonderful, solo, because I kind of like this to be the center of attention sometimes. Shocking, I know. There's a reason why I got a podcast. Yeah, it's a really great show. I know that there's some people who be like, "Oh, let's get too religious." No, not exactly. Because in this one, they don't really even mention God. It's just literally one of those things where apparently Joseph just had a hunch, and that was really all it was. But yeah, it probably does like 50% reflects on the original story. But anyway, moving on from that. I got to talk about ACW that took place this past weekend. Well, actually, it was a pretty awesome weekend, to be honest, because I got the chance to do a merchandise table at the ACW show. So that was kind of one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't notice that I had like photos up or anything like that. Because as I was working at the table, I had to make sure everything was good. Sold a lot of pins. And it was kind of funny because Swaggle came up to me and he was asking, "Oh, how are sales going?" And I said, "Yeah, we're doing really good. Sold a couple of shirts, sold a lot of pins." And he's like, "Pins?" Yeah, he's just looking at me all shocked because, and for good reason, because he told me, he's like, "We never sell that many pins." It's like, well, we're selling a lot tonight for some reason. It was a good turnout. As far as results for the show, kind of going off of what I can recall, Randy Fitzsimmons defeated Swaggle via disqualification because Swaggle's new best buddy, Mr. Backwoods Brown, decided to come in and just wreck him. Then we had a match between Willie Wild and Backwoods Brown, in which Willie Wild is now dead because Backwoods Brown basically killed him. We had the announcement that it's going to be Melina versus Stacey Shadows, a.k.a. my worst nightmare, because I'm probably going to have to call that matchup, and I will probably cry if Melina dies at the hands of Stacey Shadows. They made the announcement that also the Water City Championship was being vacated due to unforeseen circumstances with Seth Gambino. I honestly have no idea what's going on, but it's one of those things where I'm not going to pry into that too much. So they had a matchup to determine who is going to be the new champion between Shane Hills and Adam Grace. Oh, and trust me, it gets better than that when we get to that matchup. They have the tag team title match between the Players Club, and honestly, I wish I knew these guys' name, but the only thing that comes to mind when it comes up is that they are kind of like this Hollywood-style deal, and they have a Nickelodeon rug. Oh, trust me, I talked to the guy after the show. I said, I wanted to do a Nickelodeon chant during this show. And he said, "Dude, I was waiting for that. I was wondering when you were going to start doing the Nickelodeon deal because because it was funny. The first time I started doing that, it was myself and Charisma, who's a friend of the show. We just started going Nickelodeon. I just kept doing that, and the guy just looked at me. He's like, "Shut up! Shut up! It's not a Nickelodeon deal." I just kept going just to be a dick, and it was one of those things where he's like, "Oh, dude, I thought that was hilarious. Are you kidding me?" But Players Club retained, and if you haven't gotten a chance to hear it, definitely check out the interview I had with one half of those tag team champions, Big Cat, Chris Bogger. It's an awesome interview. It's a lot of fun to get an idea of how he went from just being a fan to where he's at today, and it's just a really, really cool story to kind of talk into that. And there's even another interview from Wisconsin indie wrestling scene, which is headed up by one of our friends, TJ. He did an interview with Chris as well, and it was really great. He also did an interview with Jordy Lee, who wrestled his final matchup that weekend. So it was kind of one of those things where you definitely do feel the emotions going into that. It's a really good interview. I'm trying to think of what else was there. Oh, I did a little bit of training with my friend Taylor for commentary. That was fun. Hopefully can get her on the commentary deal within maybe the next few months. Who knows? We'll see. I still got to make sure that I'm in good with the management deals and they have their faith in me when it comes to this. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. Anyway, also during the show, unfortunately, because I wasn't able to do commentary, I did work with the camera guy to find a way to fill in like the gaps between the matches. Like usually there would be like a little black deal, and then they would just go to the next one. They tried to basically fill the void for those ones. I was able to do a couple of interviews. One was with Mr. Triple Threat, Porn Stash Peter Schwanz. It was awesome.
I love that name.
Porn Stash? Or just...
Porn Stash.
He is just absolutely amazing. And he wrestled in the main event against Logan Lynch for the title. It was absolutely fantastic. But the reason I give him the name of Triple Threat was because of the fact that he's a guy who really, I see him a lot in just triple threat matches. I've seen him wrestle more triple threat matches than singles matches, in all honesty. And it's really cool because I actually messaged him. I said to him, dude, I think if you're going to go with this triple threat, gimmick, we got to add something to it. So I just said threat number 1, the stash. Threat number 2, the splash. Threat number 3, the smash. And I literally said to him, dude, I am so sorry if that last one was just way too corny. He's like, oh no, dude, I love that last part of it. So is that going to be a t-shirt? Probably not. But it's an idea that I brought up that I thought, oh, that's funny. They had a no contest between Salem Crane and Nathan Gust, which I'm pissed off at because that should have ended. But no, they're going into a Falls Count Anywhere deal at the Tanner show, which hopefully I'll get to record some of those extreme moments because those guys are freaking amazing. They had the matchup for the Water City title, Shane Hills versus Adam Grace, and then Josh decides to throw a major curveball and just decides to throw in an additional person to it. That person being, I'm a bad man, Joey the Jet Avalon. Fresh off of losing the tag team titles, he comes out and he actually wins the matchup and becomes the first ever Triple Crown champion in all of ACW, winning the World Heavyweight title a couple of years ago. He won the tag team titles with Jordy Lee, and then he won the Water City title this past month. So it was really great to see that. Congratulations to Joey. He definitely has earned it, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he does in the future. Oh boy, I'm looking forward to seeing how that title match goes. The heavyweight title matchup between Porter Stash, Peter Schwanz, and Logan Lynch was great. A lot of fast-paced style. A lot of people were getting into it. I actually screamed at him, "Let's go, Mr. Triple Threat! You got this!" And he just yucked it up. He loved it. It ended, unfortunately, with Logan Lynch retaining the title with the brutal running knee. One thing that somebody actually pointed out to me was that it seemed like the referee did the X symbol during the match, and I noticed that Logan Lynch was limping on the way out. So far, no reports have been issued about Logan Lynch's condition, so I'm assuming that's a false alarm, that so far it's a good thing right now, that Logan Lynch is not injured. He probably just had like a little spot where maybe it was like a light sprain, or maybe he just landed wrong or something like that. But right now I just look at it and think, oh, okay, thank God. So far things are looking good. I don't want to see a situation where another title gets vacated. That would just suck. But yeah, ACW Wisconsin. Will, be sure to enjoy it because I'm never going to stop talking about it. So, alright. Going from there, I wanted to do a couple new segments for the show to give it a little more variety. And one of them was choosing a game-changing moment of the year. So obviously, with it being more wrestling-based, because we are a part of WrestleAddict Radio. By the way, go check them out at addict_wrestle. Be sure to also check out the Kings of the Rings podcast, as well as the Young Lions Perspective podcast. Those guys are awesome. Young Lions Perspective, very good. Kings of the Rings, you got Royalty, Royal B, and Will Tershaw. What can I say? Just gonna continue roasting. That's what I do. So for this, I was torn between two of them. The other one I'm gonna actually post up on my Twitter the day that it actually happens, because I still think it is a pretty crucial thing to talk about. But I wanted to talk more about the Royal Rumble, because 32 years ago, on January 24th, 1988, we witnessed the first ever Royal Rumble matchup. It was just a 20-man Rumble match where people came in at different intervals. I believe for that it was maybe a minute. It was not even that long. It was like, it was just kind of like a fast-paced, you guys are starting off. 1 minute later, boop, here's another one. 1 minute later, boop, here's another one, here's another one. It was very fast. I think it was like the fastest Rumble match, 22 minutes, I want to say. And the winner for that was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. From there, the Rumble match was utilized definitely as a way to have, the big names, mainly Hulk Hogan, brother, win it. But also, you got a chance to witness something that probably you didn't think you would actually see, and that being some previews of what WrestleMania was going to be. If you remember earlier on, we got to see, all Hulk Hogan versus Sid Justice, as well as Ric Flair and Randy Savage. We also got to see Hogan and the Warrior locking eyes in this matchup. It was absolutely great. And for the time being, it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, people are entering the Rumble. Hey, won. It's kind of for bragging rights. It wasn't until 1993, I believe it was, where Yokozuna won it, that they actually decided, okay, you win the Rumble, you're going to get a title shot. So, Yokozuna, of course, being the first one to win the Rumble and to get a title shot at WrestleMania 9, that WrestleMania match where Bret Hart lost the title and then somehow decided, oh, I want my title back, but you go get it, Hogan. Yeah, and what was being dubbed as one of the worst WrestleMania main events of all time. Fair. Yeah, from there, it only got bigger and better from there. We got, Bret Hart and Luger. They had their deal where they both hit the same time. Oh, they're both going to challenge for the title. Bret Hart would get his, he would get his win back. He would get his title back. It wasn't until later on that they started trying to incorporate other things more. In 2003, they decided, okay, well, the person who wins it, they're going to challenge for the brand's title. Of course, that being won by the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. A year later, they decide, okay, we're going to add another deal to this. If you win the Rumble, then you are going to challenge any championship that you want. Of course, that being won by Chris Benoit, he decided to hop from SmackDown to Raw to challenge for the world title at WrestleMania. There was just a lot of really great deals there, and it just keeps evolving and evolving from there. Some of them in a dumb way, but then there were others that were in a very unique way. We just watched the 92 Royal Rumble, which will have been posted up by now because, I decide when it gets uploaded, whatever. We see, the 92 Rumble where the WWE title was won by Ric Flair. We saw the first time ever the WWE title being defended at the 2000 and I want to say 16 Rumble with Roman Reigns, where he was entering as number one. He had to go through every single body, and of course, to everybody's joy, he did not win the Rumble. Instead, it was won by Triple H. Just continuing to see that. But I always loved when they built up the hype and they built up the kind of emotion whenever the Royal Rumble person always won, because they always wanted to make you think, well, which title are they going to go for? Are they going to pull pull somebody? I think best example, probably one of the best WrestleMania build-ups after Royal Rumble is still 2005 with Batista. He is the guy who was the major heavy league. He was the major heavy hitter for Evolution. He wins the Royal Rumble, not even thinking that he was going to even win it. He just thought, well, I should get in the Royal Rumble match because let's just say, by some chance, Orton beats you at the Royal Rumble, which is not going to be the case. I would go on to win the Rumble, and then I would win the title back and bring it back to Evolution because I can. So he kind of brought that up in there, and then it just kept evolving and snowballing to the point where he actually won the Rumble. Triple H, hey, he won at Royal Rumble. JBL won at Royal Rumble. So it's kind of like, oh, so he's going to have to make a bit of a choice here. Well, it's obvious he's going for Triple H. As the weeks went on, you saw all those crazy promos where JBL says, oh, Batista, he's not in my league. And Big Show just saying that he's going to see what a great white shark looks like in a very small pond. And just that awesome deal where he came out at No Way Out. He's just looking down at John Cena, just a sign of things to come. Ooh, that was great. That was great. And then, of course, we had the final payoff, which was Batista picking which contract he was going to choose. doing the thumbs up, then ultimately giving Triple H and Flair the thumbs down, signifying that he's challenging Triple H for the world title at WrestleMania. Still one of my all-time favorites. Now, somebody actually asked, who's your favorite Royal Rumble winner? To me, it still goes without saying, Rey Mysterio. It is still one of the most electrifying moments that you will ever see, because nobody expected him to win. It was one of those things where, obviously, yes, it was being played off of a certain person's death, which we're not going to really talk about, but Eddie Viva la Raza, because he's amazing. Just the emotion that was put into that, and just remembering that, hey, this is a guy who had busted ass for so long. He earned this. He deserved it. With all odds stacked against him, he just pulled it off. It was great. And just seeing that final moment where Rey Mysterio just does a head scissors, taking Randy Orton out of the equation, the crowd is just erupting. I think I was just literally like jumping all over the room, like, yes, Rey Mysterio! Rey Mysterio! Oh, yes! Thank you so much! Just the emotion Rey had in his face. It was fantastic. And one of the things I also loved that made Royal Rumble such a game changer was that most of the time, if you're in the Final Four, more likely, like 9 times out of 10, I would say, you are basically being poised for something big at WrestleMania. If you were like in the Final Four, it was kind of one of those moments where it's like, hey, watch out for these individuals because they're going to have something big going on at WrestleMania. I mean, one of the best case examples, again, Batista and John Cena at WrestleMania, at 2005 Rumble. They were the final two, and they were, they went on to win the big ones at WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker in 2007, I believe it was. They had that instant classic deal, and they went on to win. Undertaker went on to win, but Shawn Michaels had a really good classic matchup against Cena at WrestleMania, even though that should not have been the main event, just saying. Just a lot of the crazy stuff. Now, obviously, that wasn't always the case. I mean, 2011 Rumble, Del Rio and freaking Santino Marella. Obviously, there was no way that Santino Marella was going to be this. There was no way he was going to be like, world title match at WrestleMania. But, he came very close at Elimination Chamber, so I guess I shouldn't really speak that badly about him. But Royal Rumble has always been a very special event because of the fact that it does kind of set the pace for what to expect going into WrestleMania. You get to see these guys, eliminating people left and right. Roman Reigns eliminating 12 people. Braun Strowman eliminating people left and right. Big Show just being an absolute giant, just doing all these crazy stuff. The great moments where you see guys like John Morrison and Kofi Kingston avoiding eliminations and just doing these absolutely fantastic, feats of athleticism and such. People like Chris Jericho, Finn Balor, Rey Mysterio. Hell, I gotta throw Vince McMahon in there too. Lasting for over about an hour in the matchup itself, and just showcasing that showcasing the fact that they can still go, and that they can definitely hang with the big boys, even at number 1 or say number 2. So Royal Rumble is still going to be an absolutely electric night, whether people are going to love it or hate it. I know last year we had Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins win it, and then there was all that weird stuff with Becky Lynch because what the hell. But at least with Seth Rollins, it was like, you know what? I'm going for Brock. I need to slay the beast at WrestleMania, and he did. Becky Lynch, she had a really weird road to WrestleMania, which made almost little to no sense. But in the end, she would go on to defeat Ronda Rousey and win both the Raw and SmackDown Women's titles. And some people might say, but it was a controversial pin. You know what? I don't care. Despite that controversy, the 3 women that were involved in that, including Charlotte, they put their bodies on the line and they put on a pretty damn good matchup. So, Mr. Fretz, your thoughts on the Royal Rumble, and is it really a game changer, or am I just hyping it up for no reason?
No, it is a total game changer. I mean, depending on most of the Rumble winners, it determines their career trajectories. Like, if you look at, see, Yokozuna, 93, he won, and he won the title. 91, well, we're forgetting 91 didn't have that stipulation, but Hulk Hogan won it, and he contended for the title in 91 WrestleMania because Hogan must pose, pal, and somebody had to defeat the evil American Iraqi sympathizer in Sergeant Slaughter. And I'm looking at the rest of some of the winners here, like, Austin 316 was conceived at Royal Rumble, and then, birthed at Austin 316 was conceived at King of the Ring, but you know what I mean. His rise to superstardom was conceived at the Rumble. My goodness. 99, I don't want to talk about 99. 2001 was Austin again. Brock Lesnar, next big thing, 2003. He had already been the champion at this point in time, but he punched his ticket into the main event of WrestleMania. Like, Chris Benoit, the Royal Rumble winner that we don't talk about. He had his historic moment. Rey Mysterio, like, almost every Rumble winner has had, it was kind of their beginning or the apex of their push or of their career. It is an absolute game changer. I mean, there's no denying that.
No, definitely do agree with you. I think the thing you kind of hit on the most, I definitely do like, is the fact that you're basically putting a long list of so many great people who have won the Royal Rumble, and to be a part of that, to even be like part of the, I want to say maybe like almost 600 plus people who have just tried to win the Royal Rumble, and to be a part of a select few who have actually won the Royal Rumble, it is something that is so prestigious, whether you guys want to admit it or not. It is a huge event, and I'm looking forward to seeing what and this is Royal Rumble event. I mean, there's only like a few kind of winners that we're probably expecting. Like, I still believe that Shayna Baszler is going to win the Women's Rumble, and she deserves it. As far as the Men's Rumble, it's kind of a who's who. I mean, some people are saying, no, it's going to be Roman Reigns, and we're going to get Reigns versus Wyatt at WrestleMania. It's like, are we though? Because there are other people that might, contend for that. You could have, arguably still one of my favorite picks is Braun Strowman. Have him win the Rumble matchup, and then have him just slowly become that true monster among men. The one that we love. The one who just wrecked everybody in sight. The one who took Roman Reigns to just absolute limits, where he choked him out, where he pinned him, where he threw him in the back of the ambulance, where he's just doing all these crazy things, and just, the classic phrase of, I'm not finished with you! It was literally one of those moments where it got him over, because he literally was like a horror movie character that kept coming back and coming back, because he knew that he could inflict more pain. So, that's one of the things that I would love to see. I would love to see him win the Rumble and become the Universal Champion, because there's still a little bit of history between Wyatt and Strowman, and I think that it could be a great way to kind of resolve it at WrestleMania. But we'll kind of have to wait and see for that. Another person they could probably say, I mean, even though reports are saying, they're not going to include NXT, I don't know about that. I think that it would be really stupid for them not to include NXT, but wouldn't it be crazy if an NXT star won the Royal Rumble and then they went on to WrestleMania to headline for the WWE or for the Universal Championship? That would just be absolutely amazing. I mean, so many people have been talking about it. Matt Riddle versus Brock Lesnar. This could be the way to do it. You have the original bro win the Rumble. He goes on to WrestleMania and he dethrones the Beast. It's one of those things where some people might not like it, but at the same time, it gets you hyped for WrestleMania. Another person you could probably throw in there, Tommaso Ciampa. Maybe he's one of those guys who wins the Rumble, but he decides, you know what? I'm going for Goldie. I could go for the Universal title, I could go for the WWE title, but there's only been one thing that's been on my mind since I came back, and that is Goldie. So he could be one of those people that, maybe headlines, I wouldn't necessarily say closes out WrestleMania, but it's still enough to really believe that because the story that he gave to WWE, it's there. It's absolutely amazing. We've talked about that for the last how many odd episodes. And you can't really say that NXT people aren't going to get involved because we've seen that in the past. Hell, I will say this. One of the things I loved last year, I had just gotten my North American Championship, and I was thinking to myself, oh, great, I'm going to have somebody really stupid. Hey, it's going to be Titus O'Neil, Nick Sano, the amount and no one else. It's Johnny Gargano, the new North American Champion, and I'm literally just holding onto my belt just like, this is my good luck charm right now. I am so happy. I'm just not letting go of this bugger. Just seeing that, I was literally just like, oh my god. Johnny, if you lose, I'm okay with this. Just because of the sole fact that I am so happy that you are not Apollo Crews or Titus O'Neil or Heath Slater or whoever. So, the point is that it is a game changer. The Rumble matchup is still something that a lot of people get hyped for. People always love seeing it. Hell, if you don't believe me, you still got to go back to Ant's video where he watched the first ever Women's Royal Rumble and hearing his girl, Nikki Bella, music just coming out and him just being absolutely just nostalgic for that. If that doesn't get you hyped up for the Royal Rumble, I don't know what does, and you probably need to check to see if you actually have a pulse.
Totally, man. That's the one event, like, it's that and Mania. I still get pumped for Mania, but I still always get pumped for the Rumble. I mean, I always make it a point to watch it on the night of. Even, like, chances are I'm going to be working until, maybe almost halfway through parts of the show, but with the network, you can say, start from beginning, and then Mr. Fretz doesn't live tweet, and everyone rejoices.
Fair enough. Alright, so with that, we're going to end with our second segment, and we're going to close off the show with something a little bit interesting. So basically what I told Fretz was that every week we're going to trade off between game-changing moment as well as this other segment. So for this week, he's going to have the ball in his court for this. So for this, it's going to be just random questions. So basically, we have the power to basically ask each other any question that we might have, and we've kind of established that it literally can be anything. Just like if you were a Patreon member of The Rant, you definitely need to go do that because it's absolutely awesome, and those guys are amazing. Shout out to The Rant. Basically, just ask each other legitimately anything. So I do have some questions I'm going to have, especially when you come to February time. But we're closing off with a random question or a random deal from Mr. Fretz, and I have to find out, I think, the best answer for it. So I'm kind of curious to hear what you have in store for me for this one. And I think you actually had kind of an interesting name for this one, for our first edition of Random Question from the Game Changer.
Yeah, when you said random question, my mind immediately jumped to trivia, and I'm like, okay, are we going to do random trivia every week? So I had a name for it. This is completely stolen from our old radio show, but Stump the Chump. So my question, it might have two parts.
Okay.
So who has the most WWE hardcore title reigns, and how many are they? Bonus question.
I hate you. I'm just gonna let this sink in for a minute. And, the fact that they just had their greatest Jeopardy deal of all time deal makes this even more interesting. So oh boy. Because I know one that really comes to mind and he gets talked about so much. So my answer for that is going to be Raven. And I'm trying to remember exactly how many titles he won. I thought it was, oh gosh, I think it was Raven with 23 hardcore title wins. That's what I'm going to go for my final answer for that.
So you're right with Raven, and he had 27.
Oh. I was actually going to say 32 for some reason, but I'm like, no, that's way too much. That's too much. So I was thinking like 23, 27. Oh, okay. So, hey, Raven with 27 hardcore title runs. Does that also include his hardcore title runs with... No, it's just WWE. Never mind. I was going to ask if it includes his hardcore title runs in WCW, because I remember they had...
He didn't. The
Wow.
WCW hardcore title became a thing around the time Raven, I think, returned to the WWE.
Oh, okay. Well, that's just dumb. I'm just saying, that's just dumb. So, hey, that was the random question, or Stump the Chump in this one. So, definitely a major shout out to the person who originated this. You know who you are. So, yeah, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Game Changer podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed our new segments. We'll be definitely doing them more frequently. Mr. Fretz, geez, I mean, we are just about a week away from the Royal Rumble. And Nate, oh gosh, next week is Royal Rumble predictions.
Oh boy.
This is going to be good. Oh boy. I think that's kind of how you can kind of end it. So, of course, you guys, like we said before, check out @_wrestle for Wrestle Addict Radio's Twitter, as well as check out everybody over there, the Kings of the Rings podcast, as well as the Young Lions Perspective podcast. Sure to check us out. Give us a like. Give us a follow on our Twitters. The legendary JF @RealFNGame. Yeah, in all honesty, we are a part of so many different podcasting forums, whether it's Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, I think it was a Castbot. That was the other one. I might just have to get like a whole list for one of these episodes, but like I said,
Podbean, Breaker,
that's right.
Spreaker, Spotify. I have Spotify on my phone now, so.
Spreaker, Beaker. Yeah, just, it's absolutely crazy, you guys. So, the road to WrestleMania is starting, and for us, it's going to start next week when we give our predictions. So, thank you so much for joining in for the show, and yeah, we'll talk to you guys next week. It's going to be a bit of an interesting road to WrestleMania, but in honesty, it's going to be a bit of an unpredictable one, at least for the men's Rumble. But Roman might win. And that's a bad thing? This is one of the few times where it's like, I'm actually okay with Roman winning. But yeah, we'll talk more about that next week. So, for Fretz, I've been NateFNGreat. This has been the Game Changer Podcast. We're tired. We're probably going to crash after this. See ya.
Bye.